Guys, there's few things that I would rather be wrong about right now than Francis Ngannou and Tyson Fury fighting. I mean, where there's smoke, there is fire a lot of times. I can come in and tease these guys all I want, tell you that's not a sport, and that's not going to happen if Francis is getting played. Not necessarily. I mean, there is another side. If Fury wants to go out and do, there's a way to get these guys together. Now, I went and watched Francis. I had an opinion that other people have shared too, right? We know in this sport, you're only as good as your last fight. That's the perception. We've had to deal with that forever. But if you were to look at Francis's last fight, he got outstruck. It was a 25-minute fight. He had to win it on the ground. He got outstruck by Ciryl Gane. So that was just tough. At least tougher to attempt to sell to people that this guy that just got outstruck by a guy who doesn't even pretend he could outstrike Tyson Fury is going to go fight Tyson Fury in a stand-up fight. Can we agree on that? Before you think I'm being negative, I then saw a video, and it was Francis Ngannou in the gym. And it was Francis Ngannou sparring with LeBanner. And who's amazing? Who is flat awesome? They were only sparring stand-up. One thing I saw about Francis, and one thing that I learned about Francis, he's a lot better than I knew he was. I thought he was very good. I recognized he was the champion of the world. Francis was better than I knew he was. He had better movements. Francis was doing something called the pole. The pole is very uncommon in boxing. You will see Floyd Mayweather do it. You will see Anderson Silva do it. It's the most elite. It is just a part of the male anatomy that generally doesn't bend. A guy's back, right? You've heard of a bob. You've heard of a weave. You know about the duck. The pole is where you can pull back. Your back just doesn't bend that way. Men and women's gymnastics compete on different apparatuses and routines because of the lack of bend in the male anatomy. Just so you understand this. It's a very rare thing to do, let alone a guy that's 300 pounds. So I'm watching Francis in there. Francis is doing the pole. Francis is bobbing, he's weaving, he's ducking, but he's also doing the pole, and then he's returning fire. Might sound simple. If you go watch this clip, you're going to see a 300-pound man doing something you don't generally see him do, and you're going to see a 300-pound Francis Ngannou doing something in this clip that you did not see him do in his fights, including his last one with Ciryl. Why? Guys, the answer is real simple. We just forgot it. Right? One thing in this sport, we get reminded of things. We don't learn a whole lot new anymore. We used to learn something every pay-per-view, which was separated by about 2 to 3 months. We'd all sit down and learn something. We'd go in the gym on Sunday, or we'd get a buddy to come over. Right there, we'd move the coffee table out. Right? The old Evan Tanner. Evan Tanner prepared himself for a world title fight, watching clips, training with a friend in a living room. That's real. At one point, that was real, but now we don't learn as much as we get reminded of things. And we got reminded by the way that Francis was able to move, the way he was able to work the body, the way he was able to bob and weave, the way he was able to parry, step in and cut a corner. We got reminded how much different a stand-up fighter can flow, how much different he can react and respond when he doesn't have to worry about the threat of a takedown. Ciryl Gane was not likely to take Francis down. I understand that. But he offered the threat. Francis had to respect it. If Ciryl changed elevation, Francis had to react to it. As Francis starts to engage, before he lets any power go, he has to know Ciryl has at least an option to change elevation and attempt to tackle him. Those are things he didn't have to worry about or think about when he was sparring with Jerome LeBanner, who is as good of a stand-up fighter as you're going to come across, who's as intimidating of a stand-up fighter, but he's also as powerful. And that power just simply wasn't there. It just was, because Francis was throwing him off. Every time Jerome LeBanner would get set somewhere, Francis would offer him something. Okay, so now Jerome's gonna get sent to the left hand. Okay, Francis throws the right. Okay, Jerome's getting adjusted because Francis is a headhunter. Francis changed elevation, comes to the body, comes back up to the head. It was just one of these things. I didn't learn about Francis. I got reminded. It's a very different contest when you don't have to worry about the threat of the takedown. And I will admit for you, while being a naysayer and not understanding why these two knuckleheads are going to go make up a game, I am more intrigued by it after seeing this sparring clip than I was prior to seeing the sparring clip.